The rise of Chenla, from Funan vassal to mainland power. Introduction: the shifting sands of power. Imagine an ancient maritime empire, wealthy and influential, controlling vast trade networks that stretched from India to China. This was Funan, the dominant power in mainland Southeast Asia for centuries, based in the fertile Mekong Delta. Yet, like all great empires, Funan's zenith was followed by a period of decline, creating a power vacuum that a former vassal state, Chenla, was ready to fill. The rise of Chenla is a compelling narrative of a gradual shift in regional dominance, from a maritime-focused trading power to a land-based agricultural and military force. How did a subordinate state, once seemingly overshadowed, manage to assert its independence and ultimately absorb its former overlord? Join us as we explore the transformation of Chenla, tracing its origins, the factors contributing to Funan's decline, Chenla's strategic expansion, and its legacy as the precursor to the mighty Khmer Empire. Chapter 1. Funan's decline. Paving the way for a new order, Funan's decline was not a sudden collapse, but a gradual weakening, creating vulnerabilities that Chenla was poised to exploit. Several factors likely contributed to its diminishing power. Shifting trade routes. Funan's prosperity was heavily reliant on its control of maritime trade routes between India and China. Changes in these routes, perhaps due to the development of new sailing technologies, allowing ships to bypass coastal stops, or shifts in demand for certain goods, could have significantly impacted Funan's economic base. The collapse of the Roman empires, for instance, might have reduced demand from the West, impacting the wider trade network. Internal strife and succession disputes. Chinese historical records mention internal instability, civil wars, and dynastic disputes within Funan in the 6th century. Such internal conflicts would have weakened the central authority, diverted resources, and made it difficult for Funan to maintain control over its vast territories and vassals. The usurpation of the Funanese throne by Rudravarman in 514 CE is often cited as a period of significant discontent that may have fueled provincial movements. Geographical vulnerabilities. Funan's core territory in the Mekong Delta, while fertile and ideal for maritime trade, might have also been vulnerable to shifting river courses, siltation, or perhaps even destructive floods, impacting its agricultural productivity and port access over time. Rise of regional centers. Even within Funan's sphere of influence, various smaller principalities and centers of power were developing. As Funan weakened, these regional entities would naturally seek greater autonomy or even outright independence. These internal and external pressures created a fertile ground for the rise of an assertive new power from within its own periphery. Chapter 2. Chenla's ascent. Strategic leadership and military expansion. Chenla, initially a vassal state located in the middle Mekong region, encompassing parts of modern Cambodia and southern Laos, distinguished itself through strong leadership and a strategic shift in focus. Emergence of powerful rulers. The rise of Chenla is closely associated with a line of ambitious and militarily adept rulers, particularly Bhavavarman I, 550 CE, and his successor and relative, Chitrasena, who took the regnal name Mahendravarman R. 591 CE. They are credited in Chinese records with consolidating Chenla's power and beginning its expansion. Some scholars suggest that Bhavavarman I might have been a noble related to the Funanese royal family, perhaps seizing the opportunity presented by Funan's internal disarray. Military expansion and conquest. Unlike Funan's primary focus on maritime trade, Chenla built its power on control of land and agricultural resources. Its rulers embarked on systematic military campaigns, gradually annexing Funanese territories. Chitrasena is explicitly credited in Chinese histories with seizing Funan and subduing it. Strategic shift in capital. While Funan's capital was likely in the Mekong Delta, possibly Vyadapura or Angkor Bore, Chenla's rulers established new centers of power further north, such as Isanapura, modern Sambor Prei Kuk, in Kampong Tom province, founded by Vassal around 618 CE. Isanapura became a magnificent capital, symbolizing Chenla's newfound strength and providing a secure base for its operations, less vulnerable to naval attacks than Funan's delta cities. Assimilation of Funanese culture, Chenla did not merely conquer Funan, it absorbed its people and its rich Indianized culture. Chenla kings adopted Funan's dynastic legends, embraced its blend of Hinduism and Buddhism, and continued to send embassies to China, indicating a continuation of diplomatic legitimacy. This allowed for a relatively smooth transition of cultural and religious traditions. By the early 7th century, under King Yasovarman I, Mar 637 CE, Chenla had largely completed the conquest and absorption of Funan, effectively replacing it as the dominant power. Chapter 3: Chenla's Consolidation and Legacy. Following the absorption of Funan, Chenla established itself as a powerful mainland kingdom, laying crucial foundations for subsequent Khmer civilization. Architectural and artistic development, the Chenla period saw significant developments in art and architecture, particularly evidenced at sites like Isanapura, Sambor Prei Kuk. Temples were built primarily of brick and laterite, with intricate sandstone carvings, showcasing a distinct pre-Angkorian style that would heavily influence the later Angkorian architecture. Hindu deities, especially Shiva and Vishnu, were prominently worshipped, and the syncretic Harihara sculptures, combining Shiva and Vishnu, were popular. Economic base. Chenla's economy was primarily agrarian, based on wet rice cultivation in the fertile river valleys. The extensive use of corvée labor for construction and agriculture, as well as the control over land, were key to its economic prosperity. The division of Chenla. By the early 8th century, Chinese records indicate that Chenla began to fragment, notably into Land Chenla, Upper Chenla, located in northern Cambodia and southern Laos, and Water Chenla, Lower Chenla, encompassing the former Funanese territories in the Mekong Delta and coastal regions. The reasons for this division are debated, but likely involved internal political disputes, geographical differences, and perhaps external pressures. Water Chenla, being more exposed to the sea, became vulnerable to raids and control by the powerful Shailendra dynasty of Java in the late 8th century, precursor to the Khmer Empire. Despite its eventual fragmentation, Chenla's importance as the direct predecessor of the Khmer Empire cannot be overstated. The political, cultural, and religious foundations laid by Chenla provided the bedrock upon which Jayavarman I would build the magnificent Angkorian civilization in the early 9th century. Jayavarman I, considered the founder of the Khmer Empire, himself hailed from a princely line within Chenla, and his project of unifying the disparate polities of Chenla under a single ruler marked the true beginning of the Angkorian era. Conclusion: A bridge to Angkor. The rise of Chenla is a compelling testament to the dynamic nature of ancient Southeast Asian states. From a mere vassal, it capitalized on the internal weaknesses and shifting fortunes of its powerful overlord Funan to establish itself as the dominant force on the mainland. Through strategic military campaigns, the establishment of new power centers, and the assimilation of existing cultural traditions, Chenla forged a new identity and laid the essential groundwork for what would become one of the greatest civilizations in Southeast Asian history, the Khmer Empire. Chenla's story reminds us that history is rarely static, and even the most formidable powers can be eclipsed by ambitious, adaptable, and well-led successors who often build directly upon the foundations of their predecessors. What do you think was the most critical factor in Chenla's successful transformation? Share your thoughts in the comments below.